Okay, so here's something for you to think about, right? Years ago when I was a kid, I played a trombone in high school, marching band, all that business, right up to 11th, 12th grade. And, so I learned to read music and all that. So then at the age of 16, I started playing guitar. And of course, all that reading music and stuff went out the window. And, like millions of other kids or people, I learned some chord shapes and started having some fun. And yeah, boy, I could play all these songs. I don't need to learn to read music. And oh yeah, well, life was great, right? And I was playing all kinds of stuff. Then got a couple of bands and stuff. Then uh, when I retired, several years ago now, I was like, man, I should learn to read music. So I started to learn to read music, and it opened up a whole new world of things for me. And so I've got some other videos about reading music, and I think it's something everybody should do because it really makes you a musician. Okay, because until you can learn to read music and you know a lot of these fundamentals, you're not really a musician. You're just playing a bunch of chord grips that somebody showed you. And a lot of people just don't know much about case signatures and time and rhythm and all that other stuff. So anyway, uh, so here's what you might want to think about: play another instrument. Okay, so a few years ago, I started playing saxophone, and then I started playing clarinet. So, and that was a really big learning experience. Okay, so I'd been reading music for a while with my guitar and stuff, and so I knew the notes and everything like that. But the interesting thing is, you take any of these books, saxophone, right, and you open it up, and of course you have to read the music. Sorry, there's very few people that play saxophone can't read music. And what you find out is that all the stuff that you learn right off the bat, scales, arpeggios, doing scales in thirds, fourths, sixes, stuff like that. Does that sound familiar? Have you been watching all the videos on YouTube and guys are like, yeah, you need to learn your arpeggios. You need to learn your scales, and all this stuff. And it's true. But you know what? When you're playing the clarinet and you're like in fourth grade and you learn that in fourth grade. Why are you as a guitar player, we're just figuring this out when you've been playing, Look, this is, show you something, right? So, elementary method, clarinet. This is the first book. This is the first book I got when I learned my clarinet. First thing you do, right? You learn how to play. First of all, you learn all the notes, okay? And then you learn. I went too far in the book. Look, C scale. Memorize the C scale. F scale. Memorize the F scale. Okay, this is what they tell you to do when you're just the first thing. It's like the first things you learn. And look at this one. The first practical studies for clarinet. Look at page one. Page one. You know what they're showing you? Scales, arpeggios, thirds, doing scales in thirds and fourths and sixes. This is all elementary stuff. And most guitar players don't even know how to do that. So, you hear people like, oh, you got to learn your arpeggios and stuff. And they're right, you do. But it's something that, as we pick up our guitars when we were younger, I missed out on a lot of stuff because I didn't know this stuff. And so, here's a tip. Play a clarinet. And you'll start to learn about music, about musicology or whatever. So, key signatures and all the chords and everything and your harmony, all that stuff. It's all basic stuff with any other musician. But guitar players just like put that stuff to the side, learn some chord grips and go. And a lot of guys do really well with it. There's guys that have done it for years, and they have these little coffee house performances and stuff. And they don't know a damn thing about reading music. They don't know a damn thing about key signatures or anything like that. But they play and have a jolly old good time. Guess what? If you learn the music, if you learn all that stuff like you do in these old books, you're going to be further ahead in the long run. I wish I had done it years and years and years ago. But anyway, it's maybe a better musician, I think. It's a lot of fun to learn. And, you don't need to use a different instrument, but to me, going to a different instrument was fun and it was learning, but it also made me realize, like, everybody else that plays a trumpet, a trombone, a saxophone, a piano, anything, they all know how to read music. They know the arpeggios, the scale shapes, because that's what you learn. Those are the first things you learn. And with guitar players, that's like the last thing they learn. So if you want to be a better guitar player, try a different instrument. Or go and get the old Mel Bay books, the old ones, book 1. It tells you all that stuff too. So tell me what you think. Do you play a different instrument? Have you learned from playing a different instrument? Has you made your guitar playing better? I'd like to hear. Let me know.